Hello. Let's see if I can move this. Right. Okay, here we go. On air. On air, camera 1. On air, camera 2. On air, camera 2. Here we go. All right. Hello, this is Frantz Kantor. Kantor's Coronavirus Caricatures, or How I Learned to Love the Lockdown. I'm doing another caricature. Yes. So today's subject is going to be a really good one, actually, really cool, from a movie, really a character from a movie. And this is the actor that we're going to caricature in a particular role, right? Mandy Patinkin. Now, Mandy Patinkin was born in 1952. He's an American actor. You will remember him, of course, from The Princess Bride, as Inigo Montoya in Rob Reiner's 1987 film. He's also been in Yentl, Alien Nation, Dick Tracy. I think he was the piano player in that. And Chicago Hope, Dead Like Me, Criminal Minds, of course, and Homeland. And he's been in a lot of Broadway shows like Evita and Georges Surat in Sunday in the Park with George. So he's a very accomplished actor. This is what he looks like now, so very sort of, I don't know, prophet-like, I guess. Very strong features, striking features, which you would expect from an actor. You know, makes his living talking. This is from with the characters, the three main three main partners in The Princess Bride, of course. And this is the Sicilian. This is Mandy, and this is Andre the Giant, who was a wrestler. So each of them play fantastic roles. It's a really cool film. So if you get a chance to watch it, you should. This is the photograph that we're going to be working from. There's different versions of this. Is from the actual film itself. You can see a lot of problems here. It's been cropped off. But it shows some distinctive markings from the character in the role, with the the scars on the cheeks. This one also is a very nice photograph. You can see very intense features. He's a very intense character. He's a master swordsman. This is him without the beard. This is him from Homeland. It's a younger version of him. So you can see there's some problems with the reference that I've chosen. Again, he's a master swordsman. This is a caricature of him from somebody. This is his costume, so if we need to look into the costume, I'm not doing very much of the body, but it's got that sort of pirate shirt with the lace and the vest, or the tunic vest. This is another. This is just the Spanish form of the famous quote, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepare to die." Right. So he's very iconic. This is the Wesley character, the pirate. I think everyone will be wearing masks in the future. It's kind of prophetic in a way. This is a great little model. I don't know if they actually made these. I'll have to have a look for them. That's of course a pop vinyl. You can see the distinctive elements, the scars on the cheeks. I got these so I can look at how much hair is on the top, so I can sort of draw from that. The main, this is his quote, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepare to die. And he's looking for, of course, the six-fingered man. Now, this is rather interesting. I saw this today when I was researching. His character, it seems to be based on Captain Hook, the Disney cartoon. So that's actually an interesting thing, because when they do these cartoons, they create a type, sort of a trope, if you will. And it's so strong with the shapes, it's such beautiful shapes and balance and things, that it influences any future versions of Captain Hook, including, of course, the Spielberg Hook version. So this is interesting. I really like the shapes that they've chosen for this, and that in many ways has influenced my decision for today. Let's go back to the reference that we've chosen. Nice clean shot if I can. Where is it? Here we go. This one and this one we're going to be looking at. So that's kind of nice. Okay, very intense. All right, so let's get into the situation here. Right, so I've done a little thumbnail sketch in blue pencil to try to work out some of the balances and shapes and forms and things. Now, when you choose to make one side bulgier than the other, it's actually a guess at the the asymmetry or asymmetrical proportions of the face. So most faces, of course, when you look at them, front on, are symmetrical, but that doesn't offer you very much interest in terms of an imbalance, because what you're trying to do is to create this dialogue of lines of shape. So to create something that's balanced and imbalanced, to create a dynamic drawing. All right. So I'll explain that as we go along, but it's got to do with the dynamic, the use of composition, a dynamic composition, which means that you try to imbue it with a type of movement, right, or life. When everything is balanced, everything is calm and orderly. So you don't want that in a drawing. You want some form of conflict, some form of a dialogue between the different shapes. So you want to try to keep them as interesting and as challenging, both to perform, both to draw, and to look at. So it's like a two-way street, right? It's it's interesting for me to do, and hopefully in that process, it's interesting for you to watch. So looking at the hook proportions, I've kind of come up with this banana shape with cheeks. So a bulgy banana, and I quite like the simplicity of the nose and the eyelids and things like that for the hook character. So I'll try to get some of that into the Montoya caricature. So what we're going to be looking at here is a relationship between all of these forms. So caricature for me is a way of exaggerating the shapes, right? In order to exaggerate, of course, you need to simplify. So both simplification and exaggeration. Those are the two elements interplaying with each other to create something of interest. The other thing to remember with the lighting, let's have a look at the lighting here. The lighting is pretty much overhead, very even, but seems to favour more of a right-hand side. So any shadows would generally be stronger down on the left-hand side of the object. Okay, so like this. This is what we're considering. Of course, we might bring in artificial lights like rim lights or something to create a sense of three-dimensional quality. Remember, we're doing a three-dimensional drawing. That's why we've got the toned paper. We're not working against the... we're not working on white paper, so we have to create a halftone. We've already presented with a halftone. All we need to do is strengthen it or lessen it with the use of black pencil, brown pencil, and white pencil. The other thing to keep in mind is this mask zone, the sort of a T area, T zone, which I like to also include the mouth in this dialogue, because all of these lines relate to one another. Okay, so the eyes that create shapes. Excuse me. The muscles that surround the eyes are linked to other muscles around the face, around the nose. Those muscles are linked to muscles around the mouth. So you can see this intricate lace work that's underneath your skin, right? It's for micro expressions. So the face, the human face, is an extremely articulate series of muscles and tendons. The other thing to note as well as we move along is in the caricature, always consider the properties of the skull, which is the underlying structure. So that means no matter where you're going or how far you're distorting this this skull, right? You are actually you must refer to the oh no, that wouldn't be it. You must refer to the skull underneath, and whether or not you can see it in the final thing, in the photographs, in the reference or not, there are elements that make if you refer to them in the drawing, right? There are elements that make your drawing more believable, more true, and that's because usually in the face, the cranium, the forehead, this part of the skull is very close to the skin, as is indeed the top part of this nose and the cheekbones. All right, so always remember that you're drawing a figure, a head in perspective, but there are things to think about while you're drawing, whether you notice them or not. Doesn't matter, because they're always present. Okay, so I've done this thumbnail, and I've taken the opportunity to sketch up the thumbnail very roughly on the toned paper, so I can give myself a little bit of a head start in the drawing process. This process itself is quite quick after you've established the thumbnail. You know, maybe a couple of minutes of drawing there, 3 minutes of drawing there, and then another couple of minutes drawing to this stage very quickly. All right, so let's get into the details now. I've got the goalposts moved into position, into the new position for this game that we're playing, which is a caricature. Remember, it is not a precise science. It is all based on your impressions of things, on how important they are in the likeness and in the story that you're telling with a pencil about this person's face. Okay, so let's delve in and get stuck into the details. Now, proportions are relative to one another. So if you changed one proportion, you have to look at the possibility of changing another proportion. So the same thing with smaller details like pupils and irises and things like that. So the nose is obviously bigger than it is in the photograph. The eyes are kind of smaller than the proportion in the photograph, but that's fine. We're doing this in some form of relationship. Okay, so we're looking at all of these elements in one. Remember the mask zone is about building a dialogue or relationship between these elements. So constantly keeping them in mind, referring one to the other, and always looking back at the reference to see what is appropriate in terms of its relevant its relevant detail or shape or impression. So what's an impression? Impression is something that you're left with in almost a psychological, what would you call it? It's a psychological echo. It's something that you look at. It's like when you look at a light, right? A very bright light, and then you look away. You have an impression of the light burnt for a few moments into your retina. So that's basically what an impression is. When you look at a face, for a moment you see a peanut, or you see a banana, or you see a pear, or you see some shape that it refers to, right? Because humans are very, very good at likening things to shapes. That's why we can look at something abstract like a cloud and see a polar bear, or see a dragon, or see some element in there that it looks kind of sort of like, right? Because we have that ability to compare. That's the same thing with in the process of caricature. Your first impressions are usually quite strong, and it's always good to remember where you are in that. I love this area of skin, by the way. This area here in the face, in between the nose and the eye, between the orbit and the nose here, is like a muscle that's coated with fat. So let's have a little closer look here. See this area here? Now that is very interesting because it is designed basically to regulate light. It is like the master muscle for regulating light. And that in conjunction with the muscles underneath the eye open and close the eyelids. But the eyelids are forced not just by eyelids, they're squinted, they're pushed by the action of these muscles, very strong muscles. One coming down in this direction. Let's get like a clear look at the eyes. So if you have the eyes here, there's the nose. I should make those the eyebrows. These are the eyes. So there is a pushing this way, right? By this area of fat-coated muscle. And there's also a pushing up in this direction. So rather than the eyes closing horizontally, evenly, like this, which they would do in most, not most cases, they would do in like, if you're going to sleep, you gently close your eyes with all the muscles are relaxed. But in lighting conditions or emotional conditions or in fight or flight mode, of course, the muscles contract in very uneven fashion. And this gives us an opportunity to see their effect, right? And that actually creates this very interesting, powerful effect on the expression, the facial expression over here on the eyes. So it's very important to remember a lot of those things. The forces at work in the face. Face is an incredibly muscular area. Very, very muscular area. Surprisingly, when you think about it, it's very different to animals. So even our physiologically similar relatives in the animal kingdom, like the apes, of course, which we're very much physiologically similar to, you couldn't be further apart from an animal as far as the use of these facial muscles is concerned. We are quite unique in the scheme of things, spookily, strangely unique. And that makes it really interesting to draw, because every time you're going to draw, you're going to get a different effect, aren't you? You're going to get a different set of rules almost. So it keeps you on your toes. So you think about the expressions, you think about the muscles, at work, even though you can't see them in the reference, they're always present by virtue of their effect on the face. So I'm glad I found that photograph, that referencing Captain Hook. I don't know whether anybody has drawn that conclusion before, or whether they based it on Hook, based the character design on Hook. But it just reads really, it makes it look very interesting. He's got very strong cheekbones. We'll talk a little bit about his muscles as we go. Doing a little word balloon here, which is the last line of his quote, "Prepare to die." And a little word balloon. Think about word balloons, of course, they refer to comics. No secret there, but actually let's not make a decision about the hair yet, because I want to sort of refer to a couple of the other references to see how messy or the great general body of the hair, where it's supposed to be. I'm concerned that there's going to be a little cap here, and then there's going to be this big mullet that comes out from underneath it. A cap in the shape of the hair. Sorry, the hair in the shape of a sort of a unit here, a cap. That's what I'm looking at saying. Cool. All right. So we'll get more information about this as we go on, because it's not in that photo. Actually, let's try and see if we can get one very quickly. Okay. Right. All right. So, what can we do? I think it should go back to the scalp, the top of the pointy bit of the front of the skull. Then we've got an opportunity for lighting at the back. That kind of sort of feels like it will work. Okay. Okay, that'll do. Like this line here, the strong shape of the face. We're going to try to keep that if we can. All right, let's go back to the details of the eyes. Go back to a clearer shot. This one I think was it. Ooh. Ugh, lost him. Okay, good. Rightio. So Princess Bride, of course, came out in the 80s, and was it an instant success? I don't think it was an instant success. I think it became a really interesting rental from the video market, and then created an incredible following ever since. I remember seeing it for the first time in the cinema in I think 2010, and that was because it was a recognized masterpiece, and like you would expect to see, I guess, Gone with the Wind or what's the Yellow Brick Road? Wizard of Oz. So it's the same sort of thing, or pick them, any Miyazaki movie, instant masterpieces. That's just another story, really, isn't it? Level of what's a masterpiece? What constitutes a masterpiece? It's the staying power of these films. I think it's a combination of things, memorable lines and characters, and a kind of a heart, a distinctive element of humanity that people can easily refer to, and hook onto in the movie. Something about it that touches their hearts or imaginations, or whatever. This is really interesting. Powerful. He has such a powerful range of muscles everywhere, all over his eyes and cheeks and mouth. There's lots of pushing and pulling over there, which we'll talk about. Now, actors have that ability because they have to be really flexible and articulate in their manners, in their their abilities. They have to sort of articulate very, very clearly, and in a very clear but very strong manner. So this character is instantly iconic. May have started out at some point as Hook, but went far beyond any similarity to Hook. It's become pretty much his own force. Some lovely small like spider lines and shadows forming underneath the eye, which tend to focus, like mascara, they focus your attention onto the expression of the pupils. Alright, so here's an interesting proposal here with the scar. You've got this slice of skin here on both sides, so we have to refer to that. How that's changing or enhancing the geometry of the face, not quite sure yet. Now he's got a very reddish nose, a very powerful nose here. Magnificent schnoz. Really cool schnoz. So some lovely textures as well. We can get a beautiful line of highlight down on the center of the shape, and also probably on the side, on the right hand side I think we're going to introduce a side light on that side, which might help with the three-dimensional properties of the drawing. Yeah, so far so good. Now he has his mouth is somewhat lopsided, so I've taken the opportunity to exaggerate that even more. So when you're doing a caricature, you're looking for some elements to play with. It's almost like a permission.
Permission to make nose larger, Captain. Permission granted.
So you're looking for opportunities to play, and that's a really cool idea, isn't it? Because play is what we use as humans to learn. You can't learn without play. Children play, and they learn by playing, you know. Unfortunately, we as adults forget that play is integral. Integral is English number one. Play is important in learning. So, just a quick note: the idea of a tail of a word balloon, of course, it should always point down to the mouth. If you're going to do a thought bubble, of course, the tail of the little bubbles of the thought bubble would always point towards the head. I'm just saying that, but you know, you can have it's such a common thing, word balloons, that you can actually have them pointing anywhere, up the nose, into the chin, into the ear, whatever. It doesn't. I mean, people still know that it's a character talking. That's what I was going to say. So it's manners to have the tail of the word balloon angled or pointing somewhere down towards the mouth. Manners. You can break manners. You can be as rude as you like. The message is still going to be accepted. Still going to be understood. Now we've got a lopsided mouth here, which is really interesting, and that, of course, is going to be nicely accented by the mustache, if we can try to work with that. And let's see what we can do here. That's good, that'll do. And then we'll do on the other side of this, I think it's called a filter in this area. So, there's some really nice, some double, triple dimples on his mouth, around his mouth, which means that he has a propensity to smile, and it's a very muscular area. So not only is he used to smiling, but he's used to talking. And if that's not a good indicator of his acting ability, I don't know what is. So if you're in any doubt as to a person's acting chops or public speaking skills, look at the muscles of their face. And if they tell you that that person speaks a lot and is comfortable with making these expressions and not at all shy, then it probably indicates a life in the public eye. Interesting set of muscles over that side. So I'm pushing the thing around, right? I don't want to keep it symmetrical, even though it's 3/4 proportion. I want to play with these forces at work here, not just symmetrically but asymmetrically, pushing them to the left and to the right if I can at all, because, you know, as I said, he has a lopsided smile, so I am just, all I'm doing is playing with that and exaggerating that possibility. Good. So we've got some very strong dimples up here, and that incredible amount of complexity, but it's referring to these powerful muscles around the mouth. There's a lot of forces at work here. Where's our light source coming in? Our light source is coming in from the top, but favouring the right hand side, so of course our shadows are going to be down on the left. Okay. Good. Let's fix up. We're going to fix these up with a black pencil in a few minutes. All right, so here we go. Let's get down into some of these curls here. Now his ears are slightly in shot in the reference, so I might try to pin them back. No, I might try to sort of refer to them. There's a lot of loose hairs coming out here, and another cascade of curls hitting the shoulder, but because we've moved the shoulder down, it's now hitting the neck. Let's try and keep this happening but flowing correctly, even though it's, you know, a lot of the stuff has moved. Alright, fix some of this frizziness a little bit. So far, so good. Let's have a look at the other side. Alright, so the other side I want to try and maybe... how am I going to do this? It's a bit of... so we've lost the shoulder on that side because of the largeness of the head. Let's see if we can pick up the... shape of, at least the shape of these, of the curls in this area. Okay, I think that might work. Try to complement the volume on the right and the left a little bit. That might work. We don't know. You know, sometimes, like, you can continue here on. Obviously, it would go, you know, down in this direction, but there is a tendency to create a twinning or a sort of an echo of line work. I don't want to destroy the relationship here because it's got a nice sort of profile, cuts through the space quite nicely. So I'm going to cheat, is what I'm saying. There we go. Now his eyes are brown, but they are light brown, which means that you can clearly see the pupils in position. I'm going to ignore the highlight in the eyes and the iris for the moment. I can always hit it with a white pen. It's going to be stronger than a white pencil, and that will kind of give us a nice element of contrast. Okay, so the black pencil is really there to help build up the relationship that you've already established with the brown pencil. So it's there to form like darker, help the contrast a little bit more, kick it up a little bit. I love this muscle here. In a lot of faces, especially in Mandy's, you can tell this area here is very, very pronounced. You can feel it more than see it, but it's still there. It's very pronounced and very indicative of the shape of the eyes. So the shape of the eyes expresses the expression. So if you were to cartoonize them, which is to symbolize them a little bit more, simplify them a little bit more, they'd be kind of like that. So they're angled down towards the nose itself rather than the opposite way, which is up. Generally, eyes have a tendency to be either looking down that way, towards the center, or looking up, or also towards the center. So they're either inverted or everted. They're generally not even. Okay. Remember, when you're working on shapes and things, you look for things that are uneven. You look for things that present a different property, different aspect. So always keep it interesting, challenging. So the nose is a strong element. We're going to I'm going to put a slight outline around that. I think it can work for us. It's three-dimensional. It's coming out in space, forward in space. So as I said, the black pencil's really to help with the contrasts and establish a hierarchy, light to dark, but also the importance of form, clarify a lot of the lines, make them sharper. Okay. Probably going to regret doing that black. Be careful. Okay, that's about all I can do there. So now that I've established the overall form of and tone of the face, I can use the black pencil and white pencil to establish more contrasts. Okay, so there's no black line there, so I wouldn't be very careful about doing that. But there is underneath the nose. We can sharpen this, heavy out this line here, and build up a little bit more of the nose structure. Now, rather than simplifying the nose as a bulbous shape like the Captain Hook nose, I've opted to compromise a little bit and put some of the strength of this upper honker, this trumpet. Quite a nice, beautiful shape there. You can see now the balance. It looks very Captain Hookish, which I think is the intention. I quite like that idea. So let's push on with all possible dispatch. I'm going to blunt this pencil with all this hair, but I think it's okay. Faces are incredible, powerful things to draw, because there's a lot at work here. There's a lot happening in a face. You know, there's the anatomy of the face, the understructure, which is the bones and muscles and tendons and things. There's also like a psychological aspect, because remember, even though an actor gets, you know, he's paid by the power of his face, the power of his expressions and acting ability. He's still human, so humans, even without scripts, perform, they act, right? So they act thousands of times every day. You know, they lie, they cheat, they steal. That's great things. But they communicate, they tell stories, you know, they express through their face, they express their emotions and their thoughts. So all wrinkles really are things that form on the face itself because of thoughts and emotions that pass over, that affect those muscles and tendons. So when you look at wrinkles around the eyes, for example, you know, sometimes they're created by the resistance of the eyes to the sun, you know, squinting at the sun or whatever. So they're created by trying to exist in an outdoor environment, but some of them are created from thoughts and emotions. So, you know, that's obviously, people are very complex. Their emotions are very key to their survival in a way, you know. So you have happy moments and sad moments that continue to force the muscles on your face to create shapes that communicate to other human beings or even animals. Animals get a chance to read our expressions, don't they? I mean, you can, horses and dogs and cats and whatever, monkeys probably. I don't know. Monkeys are a little bit different because, their facial communication is developed in an entirely different environment to humans. So they don't really express their emotions through their face. They use their face to show subservience or terror or anger. So it's very sort of, clear and staccato. Humans are very much complex, encoded physical messaging. Like the physical messaging of a human face is incredibly more powerful than a monkey's face. And it's, as I said to you before, it's kind of like, it's so different. We're closer, probably physiologically closer to a mouse than we are to an ape. So on the outer, we look very simian. We look very similar. But this arrangement of muscles is the same, but our use of those muscles on the face are totally different to animals. Totally different. So we're very, very spooky and weird in the animal kingdom. And that also makes us interesting. We're very interesting subjects to draw. That complexity. You often think of, the Uncanny Valley as a term referring to animation that doesn't quite get that complexity, that level of sophistication, of meaning and, physical communication from the body and the face. And when it works, it's quite hypnotic. You could see like Golem or King Kong or something, being performed. And the tools at play, the facial capture, the motion capture, and things are much more sophisticated than, say, the Tom Hanks movie. Polar Express, which is very creepy and very much Uncanny Valley. But even so, it's a task more than just the software. It's a task that's given to animators to fix and make more believable. And that just means that we're difficult to catch, we're difficult to replicate. So there's not going to be any really human-like cyborgs anytime soon, or robots anytime soon. It just won't happen. It's just too much. It's just too hard. So most of my drawing students express the feeling that faces and hands are the hardest things to capture, hardest things to draw. And that's because we're very acutely aware of their, communicative abilities and their flexibility The fact that they can communicate beautifully, visually, very effective, much more effective than words. So consequently, we're a little bit more critical of mistakes, of failing to communicate or to create a level of believability. So a lot of people find that very daunting in drawing, and you shouldn't, because it's an explorative process, drawing. It's something that you have to explore and find, I guess, a level of adventure in. So every time I draw, it's not a task. Every time I draw, I relate it to an adventure. It's like, uncharted territory. I'm discovering a new Martian crater. This is my sea of tranquility. What I'm looking for is a sharpener. Excuse my head running under the camera. You might say, why do you have a battery-operated one instead of those thingies? Because a lot of the pencils I use are soft and they break very easily. This is a Prismacolor. This one here is a polychromo. It's a bit harder. It's nice and sharp, and can give you an approximate, like almost an ink line in terms of clarity and crispness. Alright, so I have to go back. I forgot the mouth, so I'll have to go back and do that. Alright, so here we go. As you can see, there's a lot of very strong triple dimples and things happening over here, which means the mouth gets a lot of movement, a lot of flexible, a lot of activity. So he's very, very good at his job, just based on the physiology of the physicality of his face. That's nice. There's a bit of okay, I'm going to try to get the direction of the hairs. Pencil's very good at describing hair because it's very similar in width and flow. Okay, so that's so far so good. I think we're cooking with gas here. Let's try to fix this ribbon underneath. I've taken to putting name ribbons under the drawings because it makes them look neater. I change the ribbons occasionally, different scrolly looks. Helps to I think what we're doing with this. I'm not convinced about that, but we'll leave it for now. interesting. Let's fix this up a little bit. Alright, so what are we going to do with the white? Well, we're going to do some contrast, going to build up some form, right? So you look at the reference material and you try to, let's use a softer pencil. A softer pencil means that the pencil can go over a other pencil. The harder the pencil, the less that ability is evident. So I want to try to build up a difference in contrasts here and there, helping with the expressions and descriptions of the textures. So some elements of the face are shiny, some are matte. So the intention is not to colour in with the white, the intention is to establish a clearer hierarchy, right? You're still using the grey toned paper as the mid-tone. So what you're doing is bringing forms forward and also establishing clearly elements of shiny properties of skin and other elements. Let's actually, before we do that, we'll hit this with some white. This is a paint pen. It's quite opaque and dries quite quickly, and we're going to hit this. Actually, before we do that, what we might do is just help the black a little bit, because black pencil is quite dark, but it's not absolute black. There we go. While I'm here, I might just darken these edges around the outer side. The nose is safe to do because it's a three-dimensional shape. It's coming forward off the face. What's going on here with this? Some dust in there. Okay. Alright, now we're going to help the cheek on that side a bit and continue with the jaw. Actually, that might be enough. We'll leave that for now. So I've made the pupils a bit darker. Let's try to, if that's dry, you can try to put in the reflections now. One there and one there. And then we've got the sclera, of course, with the white of the eye, which is just the name. It's not really white. So we're just trying to put in the elements of shine, which you can tell from the photograph, or the reference is quite important. It gives it a dramatic, emotional element. Let's put in the shine here. Okay, and then we're going to just a little bit of an edge on this side of the nose. And what else? Got a little bit of shine on the lips here. And the top of the lip, like so. Should be okay. What else? Let's complement the shine on the nose with a bit of an edge light. I'm sort of intimating that there's a light coming in from that direction. Just catching a little bit of the form. There we go. Oh, I might just do that. Okay. All right. So far, so good. We can continue building up the contrast now with the white pencil to give it more structure. A little bit of reflections here and there to help with the level of details. You know, the white of the eye. The eyes stand out there a little bit lighter than the skin around them, but you know, you have to sort of keep it in balance. Okay. Just soften this effect a little bit. Maybe some of this reflection. Put a bit of reflected light into the bulk here to help out. It's just adjusting some of the values, that's all you're doing really. You know, making them work a little bit better. Beautiful. It's got a beautiful face. Yeah, very expressive and interesting. But you can tell he's like full of emotions here. There's a lot of don't forget the scar. So that picking up a bit of light makes it stand out nicely. There's a lot of emotion in this face, you know, and you can tell that his method of work is a chance to express and use that emotion. Okay, getting there. now it's just a matter of building up the musculature, catching the folds that catch the light. You know, making sure that those dimples are strong. So you can see the highlights on these wrinkles are a little bit softer than, say, the highlights on the nose, for example, or around the eyes. You can clearly see the skin is shinier. It works well. It's good so far. We've got a line under the chin here, and this chin area is very flat and broad, so it would be a chance to texture out the beard texture of the chin. Yeah, that'll do. Right. Okay. I quite like that. I like the shine and the elements of the face working quite nicely. What's bothering me though is the lines here. They're too different from the pencil line. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, what can we do here for contrasts? I'm going to use a brush pen. Let's try this one. This is a white brush pen. And that's going to help clean up the cheek area, I think. Whoops, no it didn't. This is going to help ruin the cheek area, I think. Let's not ruin the cheek area. We'll stay away from it. Going to help out with the contrast of the shirt over here, I think. Collar, pirate collar, sleeves. What else? Oops. Careful. I don't like what I did there. I'll fix it in a sec. I think I've made a problem for myself to try to run a brush around these letters. But okay, well, that's alright. It just takes a little bit longer. Right, so the negative space around the head, I think what I'll try to do is fix it up with the black Posca. So I'll try and do that. This is a complex thing there. All right. Okay. Black. Let's get some black Poscas happening here. Got a big thick one, and we've got one that we can use to cut in. So we're going to lean across this artwork. We're going to start on the left because I'm right-handed. I'm going to start on the left and render out the negative space. Now, someone asked me about why don't you go right up to the edge of the contour that you're established before? Because if you do that, you're going to lose any line. It's just going to be absorbed into the background. So it actually makes the area that, the face or the hair or whatever, smaller because you've just eaten up the outline, absorbed it into the background. So what I usually do is leave some space around it. So cut in, with the same colour, but allow a little bit of area for the lines to still be there. Those outlines, however weak they are here, they still have to be there. It's just a personal preference. A lot of people, ignore it and just cut in. They just go right up to the edge. That's fine. It's really up to you. I kind of like the cutout effect of the pen. These are great. Poscas are fantastic. They don't go through, they're not like textures. They don't go through the paper. They just sit on top. So they're really great for this purpose. You can draw on glass if you want to. I suppose in the end they're just like graffiti pens. They're better than graffiti pens because they're not, if you tag trains or anything, they're not permanent. They can be removed easily. I'm not saying that you should be tagging anything, but if you do, don't use a permanent marker. That's all I'm saying. For what, because you don't need to leave your tag on someone's seat forever. Tagging is just practice, really, isn't it? We don't want to see you practice on seats. Practice at home on paper. So let's finish that off with a thicker marker. These markers are also good because they, unlike the Uniballs, these paint markers, Poscas, are really nice. They dry flat, which if you've ever used Indian ink before, Indian ink has a tendency to pool and create sort of a metallic sheen in areas. It used to drive me crazy. I hated it. It's very inconsistent. So you can see this is, you've got shiny bits here, but that's going to dry perfectly flat. Lovely and flat. Right, so here we go, down to the name here. And this is where I have to spell it out or write it out. I did actually write it out. Where did I write it out? Here. So we're going to put Inigo Montoya over there. Actually might very lightly Inigo just for spacing, right, to see if we're in the right sort of Inigo. See me spelling things out. Inigo Montoya. Fantastic. This is it's coming along quite nice. This will dry flat, I promise you. That's not going to be glossy at all. You know, that's going to be nice and strong and flat. And I really enjoy that shape. I love that shape. You know, it was fantastic. It was good fun to play with. Let's have a look at the inspiration for that shape, which of course is Captain Hook. And, you know, there's the Captain Hook. Very beautiful. Look at that. Beautiful shape. What a lovely design. Whoever's responsible for that. It's magnificent character design. And of course that's Inigo Montoya, Mandy Patinkin for Princess Bride. Let's go back to the reference. Here we go. So that's the reference that I've used for this. It's very, there's not many photographs of him. They're all shots from the film itself. And you can see there's a lot of lighting here in the eyes, so they want to get that intensity of his emotion, which they did very, very well. So that's the area that I've been concentrating on, this area here, and to build a likeness, but also build an intensity that I can play with. So this is what I've been doing. This is my Inigo Montoya. And this is the before, and this is the after, and this is Frantz Kantor, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye.